队伍团不团结，就与他的成绩是挂钩的。团结了，你才有信心去打好比赛。这是已经到 T25了嘛，已经过了1年了。我觉得今年相比去年的话，压力的话，可能说没什么压力吧。T1这个比赛有很多不稳定因素，大家的气势打上来了，可能就会有不一样的意外的收获。如果进了前8，我们可能再会往前移，前3，然后到了前3，可能再会抢个冠军，就大概是一步一步。
我喜欢我们队伍的风格吧，因为我们是偏打架风格的队伍吧，所以说我们队伍的人都打法比较激进吧，就是比较喜欢打架嘛。
我就是感觉一个是自信，再就是努力，这2点可能是比较作为职业选手的话比较重要的。我希望我的未来，就算我不是职业玩家了嘛，我可能还是会继续去玩 Dota 这个游戏的，因为这个东西给我的荣耀，给我的快乐，给我的希望。
So there we have it, Mu and Yubi. And as he was saying, I think most people would agree, probably in some ways less pressure, even though they won at TI4, just because of how the team has developed over the year. Most people weren't expecting them to do that well. Now they're showing up. Do you think, Winter, maybe people are starting to change it a little bit and get a little ahead of themselves, but still think, oh, maybe Newbie can do it again, or at least Newbie can go to maybe the semis and be in the top 4?
I think people will be definitely paying attention to them since they already surpassed what everyone expected. Even in most of the 1-1 draws they've shown that they could have easily 2-0'd their opponents, or they are just much better than what we expected. We didn't expect it to be that close for them against some of the opponents.
What about you guys, Cinder and Ben? I mean, do you think it's too early to be like, all right, we think Newbie can go that far, let's pay much more attention to them, or just say, all right, they're doing much better than they thought, but again, in terms of style or drafts, nothing too surprising?
I think they definitely have the talent to go far. Their players are really solid, and I would be very surprised to see a repeat of last year, but I wouldn't be very surprised to see the same pattern where they start off fairly slow in the group stage. I think last year they also pretty much broke even in the groups.
Yeah,
they were like 7-8 or something.
They had to play tiebreakers with Titan.
It was a 7-3.
It was with Titan,
yeah.
the tiebreak.
So they were like in the middle of the pack, and then they really just figured out the meta and exactly how they wanted to play. And if they have learned the things they needed from the games here and they still have their confidence, then I think 4 draws for them so far, and it was 4 draws, 1 loss,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Is good enough, because now on the deciding day for the group stages, if they come up big, they could start in the winner's bracket, and if they don't, I still believe they could be a team to look out for to go a couple of rounds in the lower bracket at least.
I think it's more a matter of having the drive to get to that far, just because if you looked at Mu, he was like, okay, if we get top 8, we'll think about top 3. If we get top 3, we'll think about top 1. Whereas every other team's like, we want top 1.
Right, yeah.
And if they can like actually taste it and be like, oh man, we're actually really, really good, we can actually get top 3, and then they'll have more confidence, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
All right, well, Newbie will be playing 2 more matches today later on Stream 3, so keep an eye on that. Could change the standings for them, but for now, we do have our very first match. In fact, teams jumping right into it for the draft between Fnatic and LGD. Now, as we go through the draft, we'll review once again how this can all pan out. But at the end of the day, what matters is Fnatic definitely want to get at least 1 point and then 3 points to beat Complexity out of that 4th place spot. LGD, meanwhile, have to have at least the same result as Secret versus MVP Phoenix, which is going on Stream 3. And at that point, it depends who's ahead, Fnatic or IG, and their matchups based on the previous week will go on forward. Of course, on Stream 2, Cloud9 versus Complexity. Cloud9 just absolutely wants to secure that 3rd place spot. If anything, that's a big confidence boost for them if they beat Complexity and go in strongly at their place into the main event. Draft for Fnatic LGD, wow, going by pretty quickly, so jump right on over to that. And a Wispan, SFN coming out very early for Fnatic, securing that tusk for themselves, leaving the Gyro open and then the Undying for LGD. So some shifts again in the first phase, nothing too surprising, but what do you make of prioritizing the tusk over the Gyro for Fnatic?
I actually think the Undying is more important versus Fnatic, just because of how early game centric they play. I think if LGD gets to 25 to 30 minutes, it'll be normal for them. I think they're much more worried about the 25 minutes and getting past the early laning phase.
All right. Razor being picked up by Fnatic, not something we've seen too commonly in the early phases.
Yeah, it's particular a good response towards the Gyro. We've seen teams respond against Gyro with Razor, mainly the Chinese teams. Like a couple of times, they view it as a good way of dealing with minimizing the Gyro's damage output in team fights.
And it's very special when it comes to the Gyro Razor matchup, because we usually talk of Razor as like a base pushing anti-carry. He's really good at denying an enemy carry damage, and that's how he gets damage himself. But when you look at how Gyrocopter works in a teamfight composition, then Flak Cannon is a really big part of his damage output. So if you compare him to a lot of other carries you could put Razor against, like, say, Lifestealer or, you know, any kind of single target damage, it's very different because every second he drains from Gyro, he indirectly heals his team because they take less damage from Flak Cannon. So if you set it up correctly and you get a mech, you might actually just be able to outlast the Gyro in the teamfight, which most of the times when we see teamfights, the Gyro team just get ahead and they quickly get 1 or 2 kills because of just the massive AoE burst. And if Razor starts the fight on his terms, Gyro does way less.
Yeah, and if Gyro ever has to like run away during his BKB, the fight is going really poorly for that team. Even if like he's not dying, if he has to run away because of the static link, that's huge for his team because then most of the supports run out of the Flak Cannon range.
Okay. Denying a lot of that damage against Gyro, but now LGD taking some extra time to consider what do they want to prioritize, what do they want to secure in the second phase here.
So Shaker's still in, which has been a big pick for LGD. I don't know if they put the Undying on core for Yao generally, or if they play it support on.
Generally support.
So it's generally support unless they want to, you know, take advantage of the enemy having very weak laning supports.
Shaker's really good so far.
Yeah, it's good versus Tusk. We discussed this a lot and has really good synergy with the Gyro as well to set up for the cooldown. And yesterday it showed that it's one of their strongest points against Secret, having the offlane Shaker, making a lot of plays for his team.
Did you see that previous build on Undying for Ohio that we just had on the screen?
Oh no, I missed it.
He had a refresher Undying.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Was it that Naga game against Navi? Was it that game?
No, that was not their last game. He went 10-2 and 21. That could not possibly win that.
Okay.
Wow.
That's still insane. He had Guardian Greaves, Vlad's refresher, and there was one more item. That's really cool. Refresher and Undying. So the tombstones, I guess, just stack fully, right? So you just spawn twice as many zombies. They slow faster.
That's
and the double soul rip combo, actually ridiculous. That's cool.
Crystal Maiden going to be their pickup for LGD.
Okay, this is like what Secret likes to do.
Yeah.
They go for the Keeper of the Light against the Undying. So you try to move him around the map, rendering him less useful in the game, since Undying is a hero that you want to stay put, you want to stay static, you want to keep pushing. You don't want to be moving around generally as Undying.
So is LGD going to try and respond to this by like having a clockwork that can actually start a fight with the Keeper of the Light, or just go more heavy late game so it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, Clock I think it's very good with killing the Kotal. You want to have someone that can go behind, take out the Kotal before you actually proceed to push the tower. If you try to go too hard in just by knocking on the door, you're always going to have a lot of time wasted by the Illuminate. I mean, either that or Storm. Storm is also a very good way of dealing with the Keeper of the Light.
Were you considering Clock for Fnatic as well? Or was it only
I mean, against the
Keeper.
Kotal.
Against Keeper, okay. Because it's a very classic thing that we've seen from Secret, running Keeper of the Light Clockwork offlane.
Yeah.
But I think they generally do it when they're Radiant. It's just easier for them to contest pulls on Radiant with Illuminate. There's some better angles from the river. And,
so the
Sand King, though.
Sand King, is this a support?
I think it's Yao Sand King. It's just.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely.
I feel it's more like the reason I feel it's more likely offlane Sand King, it's just because of the CM. Because CM you want to use the jungle. Sand King, if you play CM and Sand King as your both supports, the jungle becomes too crowded. You don't want to share it among the supports too much. So I'm expecting like what the two of them said, like offlane Sand King, and the Undying as a more supportive role, and CM would probably be just jungling whatnot.
Chick looks ready to go. Now maybe. Shot there, he looks less excited right now.
Yeah, he's like,
Can we finish the draft? Shaker for Fnatic.
gets left out. Finally
They
gets
have a lot of
picked up.
spam among the heroes right now. Like Kotl, we used to see a lot of Kotl plus a Shaker lanes back in the day against the carry, just feature and illuminate. But they have the Tusk here. I would think that the Tusk is more likely to become the core, but there was a couple of games where I saw they actually put Johnny, their support player, on the Tusk instead of playing it on Ohio.
Okay.
So there might still be a possibility that the Tusk is actually a support hero here. And we've seen them do it with Kotl yesterday, and we were talking about, oh, it's actually a good combination, the shards and the illuminate. They did make a couple of really cool kills with the two spells.
Their team fight's actually
OD.
filthy.
OD ban. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
We haven't. Mushi does play it.
Yeah, I mean,
He loves it.
he does play it, but it's generally very difficult for OD to show up in the current meta. But
At that point, for LGD, then, is it just because it doesn't show up too often, let's just ban that out? We've banned out what we think is
Yeah,
generally
probably.
stronger anyway.
I think LGD might want. So I was thinking, what's good for Fnatic here? I feel like I've said this like 4 games in a row when it comes to the last pick, but their composition could really use a Viper. It looks like they want to group up and push high ground, right, with the Razor, and then they have like this really good AoE control team fight with Blinding Light, Fissure, etc. So
Yeah.
Viper could be great. I'm not sure if they banned OD to. I thought they would have banned OD to maybe just grab the Viper for themselves for their mid.
For LGD.
But-
I mean, it's
okay.
but
also a
maybe it's
good
going to take this one.
a good hero 1v1 against Storm. They are probably
Yes.
thinking when you pick a Storm, you don't want to have a very difficult laning phase. So
But Viper
that-
could also be hard. Right?
yeah, Viper in the sense could also be hard. But if you are talking about giving Mushi a hero, you would rather not give him OD. Maybe that was the thought process.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's gonna be the hero that's jumping behind to kill the Kotl. So the Kotl has to be very careful when he's actually defending the towers. I think it's gonna be very hard for him to defend the towers if the Storm is getting somewhat a decent start or a good start. The Kotl can't really defend the tier 1 towers that easily.
Well, Fnatic.
We do agree it's a KYXY Razor, right? Most likely. Has Mushi even played Razor this tournament? I don't think so.
I mean, obviously he can, but it's more likely their safe lane hero, I'd say. They need another hero that can carry hard to go mid lane.
Ranger is what I was thinking.
Windranger is a pretty good choice. Can also knock down towers, which is great.
And Tombstone.
Tombstone. You can't focus fire the Tombstone. Can you?
No, you can't.
You can't. But she still hits pretty hard.
Yeah, but it's you still kill it fairly easily.
Are you
That's-
sure you can't do it? Can't you?
Yes.
You can focus our structures.
Yeah, but you can't focus fire. Tombstone and Supernova. I think those are the only two
Yeah,
exceptions.
Tombstone is a very.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well,
That
this
is
is a
diff.
Wait.
Yeah, a little
listen.
different.
Listen to this. You have
Okay.
you have infinite mech hack with 2 Aghanim scepters.
okay. Well,
The problem is Coddle's Ags will be pretty underwhelming because it'll be night all the time.
Well,
The synergy between these, like, this is a game where Coddle doesn't get Ags. I think. It's just not good.
I mean, otherwise, other than maybe the combo or maybe the anti-combo right there, how are we looking at Fnatic playing this out? The Night Stalker.
they would probably be very aggressive. Like I mentioned before, Fnatic needs to take a lead in a laning phase. They have to be very aggressive, and Night Stalker certainly fits that. And it's a very, I feel it's a soft counter towards, maybe a strong counter as well towards the Storm, since most of the Storm players nowadays don't like to go for BKB early. And against a silencing mechanism, they usually go for a use.
Okay.
So, and it would deter their timing of the Bloodstorm, which makes the hero snowball.
All right. Well, game 1 between LGD and Fnatic.